Good evening, everyone. It is 6 p.m. and I will call the meeting of the West Richland City Council to order. As I am attending the Energy Communities Alliance conference this week, I will defer the role of presiding officer for tonight's council meeting to Mayor Pro Tem Bloom. Mayor
Thank you,
Pro Tem
Mayor.
Bloom. Yep, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Brink. Before I get started, I'll ask the city clerk, Stephanie, to read the hybrid meeting ground rules and then call the roll.
All right, thank you. Tonight's meeting will be held in person with a virtual meeting component. If you are participating virtually, please make sure the name shown at the bottom of your video view is the name you would like the Mayor Pro Tem to use. You can change this by right-clicking on the three dots in the upper corner of your video view and clicking Rename. Audience members present in the council chambers will be called upon first during public comment periods. Those participating remotely should virtually raise your hand if you wish to speak. To virtually raise your hand, click on Participants and then click on Raise Hand. If you are participating by phone only, press *9 to raise your hand. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. Roll call. Fred Brink.
Attending virtually.
Richard Bloom.
Here.
David Cole.
Here.
David Fetto.
Here, attending virtually.
Kate Moran. Present. Ann Ritchie.
Here.
John Smart.
Here.
Ken Stoker.
Here.
Now, moving on to our agenda. Councilman Stoker, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, the agenda is before you. Are there any changes? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have an agenda. Tonight, we have a presentation from Kevin Slager and Abe Martin. I don't know if Abe's coming up too. On from Ben Franklin Transit.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for having us here today. It's always exciting to come and meet with the city council members and talk about transit and what we're doing in the Tri-Cities area. So we'll be covering our agency overview, some current ridership data trends, as well as route performance and some exciting upcoming improvements here in West Richland. So if we can move on to slide 2, please. So most of you know this, but Ben Franklin Transit is the regional transit provider here in the Tri-Cities. We also provide service to Benton City and Prosser. So over the past about 5 years, we've seen a great uptick in ridership. Like most things during COVID, we had a kind of a free fall in ridership. At one point, we were only doing about 2,000 boardings per day. I'm happy to say we've greatly exceeded our pre-COVID ridership at this point, and we're continuing to trend upwards on our ridership. So we have about 69 fixed route buses in our fleet. I believe that number is actually up to 71 now. We recently procured 2 electric buses. We have 81 dial-a-ride vehicles in our fleet, as well as 217 rideshare vehicles. So rideshare is the service formerly known as Vanpool. So we have about 400 employees and over 880 bus stops. There's, I believe, 45 bus stops here in West Richland. So in terms of passenger trips or boardings on our service, last year we provided over 3.6 million rides to the Tri-Cities area. So we're moving a lot of people every day, about 10 to 12,000 on our bus service, about 1,000 on our rideshare service, 1,000 on our dial-a-ride, and then our Connect on Demand service moves about anywhere from 500 to 700 folks. So moving on. So I wanted to really take a deep dive into what's happening here in West Richland. So currently West Richland is served by two routes, our Route 20, which provides service along Van Giesen and direct service into Richland proper. We also have our Route 10, which is a newer route. This used to be the Route 110 that only operated every hour. The Route 10 now provides service between Queensgate Transit Center, which was built in 2024, and it operates between there and Flat Top Transit Center, or what we call our West Richland Transit Center. So this, what you're looking at now, is the Route 10 and a heat map of ridership and where people are going. So I'll call out some areas down to what would be your southeast. That is the Queensgate area. We see about 200 boardings at that particular transit center a day. And then along the route, the hot spots that we like to call them are along Dupertail in the Queensgate area. We also see somewhat high ridership in the area of Kennedy and Dallas Road as well. And then obviously Enterprise Middle School is a hot spot as well. So I wanted to highlight where ridership is occurring on the Route 10. Again, Route 10 is a newer route. It used to only operate every hour, and we did up that frequency to every half hour during peak service. Next slide, please. So I also wanted to focus on our Route 20. Again, this provides direct service from Flat Top Park into Richland proper, via Van Giesen. So the hotspots in these areas are obviously the transit center itself. And then we do a loop over on 62nd by Tapteel Middle School. And we see high ridership, at least relative to West Richland, in that area. Moving on. So I wanted to give you all a sense of where West Richland stands in terms of ridership compared to the other cities. The main bulk, or the bulk of our ridership, occurs in the three main cities, Richland, Kennewick, and Pasco. In West Richland, we do about 44 to 45,000 boardings a year in the jurisdiction. Now, I can't say West Richland is obviously one of the smaller communities we serve. And in the past, we haven't had very reliable or great service, and we're starting to work on increasing those frequencies, increasing those coverages as the community grows. So yeah, in summary there, West Richland's ridership makes up about 1.6% of our total ridership. And that is on the bus system alone, so that's not the other modes. So for our fixed route boardings in general, the majority of our boardings occur in Benton County. That's where the majority of the population is. About 2/3 of ridership occurs in Benton County as compared to Franklin County. Moving on. So fixed route boardings by fare type. This is interesting because we currently provide service, youth ride free service. So 18 and under ride our services for free. And since we put that program into place, we've seen an increase in ridership and ridership within that specific 0 to 18 cohort. So we've seen in the past about 30% of our ridership coming from this 18 and under cohort, and currently we're seeing about 40% of our ridership coming from youth. So adults make up about 52% of our ridership. About 4% of our ridership comes from our College Pass program, CBC, WSU Tri-Cities. The students pay for a transportation fee through the colleges, and then they receive a bus pass. So this is a great program that promotes people to ride our services. I can personally attest to that. I was a Running Start student that used BFT throughout high school, and once I left to college, I honestly had better service here than I did in Bellingham, where I went to college. So I definitely missed it, but it's a good way to connect folks who don't have access to cars to education. So moving on. So fixed route wheelchair boardings. This is important because we're currently in the process of upgrading all of our bus stops to meet ADA compliance. So as of only about 3-4 years ago, we only had about 15% of our boardings that were ADA accessible. We've started a bus stop program to increase our efforts to improve bus stops. Right now, we're at about 25% of our bus stops being ADA compliant, and we have a goal of increasing that number by 4% each year. So as you can see, we're really taking a data-driven approach. I mean, for us, we think the best way to plan service is to have that quantitative aspect to it, but also reach out to the folks who use our service, the jurisdictions we serve like West Richland, and get that qualitative information that we can use to really plan. So the qualitative, quantitative, all informs our service plan. Next slide, please. So bicycle boardings, the way in which people get to bus stops is important. We call it first last mile. So if a bus stop is within a short walking distance or people have the means to get to the bus stop in an easy way, we want to promote that alternative mode of transportation. So we want to make it as easy as possible for people to ride their bikes to our bus stops. And you can see here in West Richland, that number's somewhat low. There was only about 1,000 bike boardings in 2025. But as we increase bus stops or increase the development of bus stops and make them more visible, we hope for that number to grow. Moving on. So the West Richland service area, I already kind of got into our Route 10 and our Route 20, and this gives a good visual of how those routes connect to the broader region. So again, I mentioned Route 20 connects into Richland proper. Route 10 connects to Dupertail, where folks can then take a Route 170 out to Prosser Benton City or catch our Route 123, which can give them direct access to the Columbia Center area or into Richland as well. We're also looking into future routes that would provide more direct service from that Queensgate area over to CBC, the airport, so there's less travel time for folks coming from West Richland, Prosser, Benton City to get to those ridership hotspots. Moving on. So again, we take a quantitative approach when we're looking at productivity of our routes. The orange line there is our Route 110 in the past, and the ridership we saw. We did about 3,000 boardings a year on that service. It was hourly. And then our Route 20, which used to be an intercity route that would go all the way into Kennewick, we shortened that up. Improve frequency along that. And as you can see, that's really the main people mover in West Richland. So this is the route that serves Van Giesen and provides direct service into Richland proper. So you can see in around September or August of 2024, we implemented our Route 10. So again, that was a change from our Route 110 that operated every hour. The 10 then first started off as hourly service. And then last year, we bumped that up to every half hour. We haven't seen ridership increases quite yet on that, but there's a few reasons why. We were basically able to increase that frequency by using the same amount of resources. The routes we had planned there were laying over an extensive amount. So the planning team, Gabe Martin here, who leads that team, figured out a way to make that more efficient. We were able to provide 30-minute service, again, with the same amount of resources, just making it more efficient, less layover time. But unfortunately, what that does do is it doesn't, I shouldn't say even unfortunately, fortunately for people, they don't have to transfer. The route is what we call an interline. So it changes from Route 20 to Route 10, and their trip is much quicker. But in the past, they would get off and transfer a bus, and we would count that as an additional boarding. So in essence, the same amount, if not more people are riding, we're just counting them differently. And to me, I want the experience of the customer to be as good as possible, even if the metrics don't really align with it, right? It's basically a product of how we are instructed to count our ridership on a federal level. So moving on. So our Connect service, I mentioned this earlier, but this is an on-demand service for the general public. It's operated by a company called Via. There's a Connect app where you can hail a ride to connect you to one of our bus stops or transit centers. So initially, we felt like West Richland was primed for this type of service. There was lower densities, and the fixed route service didn't necessarily make sense. But we know Richland's growing, and we want to take a different approach to that. So on the screen here, you can see a map of both the routes I've been talking about, Route 20 in red, Route 10 in blue. And then those are different areas, and there are graduated symbols that correlate with how many people are riding in these areas. So this is really trying to exemplify that we are trying to understand the demand in West Richland and plan accordingly. We know there's a lot of growth going off to the northwest here with the Lewis and Clark Ranch being primed for development. And I'm happy to say we've worked closely with West Richland staff, Roscoe, Eric has been, they've been great partners and really been encouraging us to think about what service looks like in West Richland in the future as this community grows and grows rapidly. Moving on. So bus stop updates. We always see bus stops as the front door to our service. So we want to make sure they're visible, accessible, and people feel comfortable and safe when they're trying to ride our buses. So I mentioned a 50 number. There's actually 44 active bus stops in West Richland. We've added 5 new stops to improve accessibility, and you'll probably see over the past few years and continuing on that we've made great improvements. We're looking to make accessible pads at every bus stop. So as I mentioned, it's a slow process, but we're trying to do that as quickly as possible. So those upgrades account for about $5,200 in spending, but we plan to invest much more in infrastructure, not only in West Richland, but in our service area as a whole. Moving on. So some notable projects. Many of you probably have seen the Queensgate Transit Center. That was completed in 2024. It's located over by the wineries off of Tulip Lane. So this was a facility funded through state grants. About 70% of the funding came from the state. The additional 30% was funded through local sales tax. And this was a step to really create a facility that can provide better service not only to West Richland, but Prosser and Benton City in the future. And you can really attest the fact that we built this to the fact that this is such a fast-growing area, right? We need to make sure we have a place where we can start routes that can have further reach into West Richland, Benton City, and Prosser. So 22nd Transit Center redevelopment, we're currently in the concept design phase. That facility is located at 22nd Avenue in Sylvester in Pasco. It's one of our main transit centers. It's well past its useful life. It was built in the early 90s, and we have some funds to address that, redevelop that, and again, it's in the design phase now. We're also looking to build a new facilities maintenance building as our services grow, as our community grows. We're in need of more resources for facilities maintenance. Our Huntington training facility is also a project we're looking to implement within the next couple of years. This is a training facility that will be offsite from our current MOA campus, Maintenance Operations and Administration campus off of Columbia Park Trail. We hope to build a CDL testing course that will be an asset for the whole community to use. And last but not least, our ongoing bus stop improvements. I've been over that quite a bit tonight, so we'll move on from there. And with that, I can answer any questions.
I'd like to mention that Ben Franklin Transit is the access point for my 5-year-old grandson and I to go on no end of adventures, pet stores and toy aisles, etc. And
Awesome.
I have not one complaint about the buses and or any of the drivers or the bus stop facilities. So good on you guys.
Yep, appreciate that. It's always good to hear that people are using it and enjoying it. So
I see that relative to the other statements.
Can you hear me better? I'm sorry.
yep.
The other cities.
I think West Richland is like 1.6% of the ridership. Is there ever a scenario with that relatively low number in comparison to the others, that would put us in jeopardy of losing bus service here or transit service here?
I think it's a growing community and we do want to take a quantitative approach, but at the same time, we also want to provide the service needed for the community. And I think, you know, as we put new service in to West Richland, I think we're going to need to provide service to the growing area. We'll continue to track that ridership. I think for the foreseeable future, we're in a mindset of growth. Typically, it takes 2 to 3 years for a route to mature, meaning to see the high water mark of ridership. So to answer short answer to your question is for the foreseeable future, no. We see West Richland as a growing community that we want to provide service and make sure that service is established before you know the growth already happens, because it's important that we're in an area initially, right, so people understand that that service is there. So
I'll jump in here. Just for your information, Ben Franklin Transit provides service to Findlay, but no buses. They use the Connect service. So and many times on this podium, I've said connect via connect. Connect basically puts a bus stop in front of your house almost. So, I mean, it's very convenient. It'll take you to the bus and it'll take you back to your house. So it's a first mile, last mile approach, or even a little bit further. So
yeah, and I think Connect's important, right, for areas like West Richland where there's lower densities. But as Councilmember Bloom said, it's really meant to connect people to a bus, not necessarily be a point-to-point trip. So the more we can, you know, establish what we call fixed route or bus service in West Richland, the more viable Connect becomes and the more efficient we can even be with Connect, right? So.
Oh, Mayor Brink, you have a question.
I really have a comment. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bloom. Just wanted to thank you for the presentation tonight, but most especially, I look forward to working with you through our city staff and our city council to make sure that the services that West Richland needs and depends upon are provided, particularly as our community grows. But thank you very much.
Okay. Oh. Council Member Moran.
Thank you. This is more just a comment as well. I'm hoping that perhaps BFT can work with West Richland to see if there's maybe a place somewhere in West Richland for that offsite training facility, especially since that would be a place where maybe buses and other vehicles could be shipped, newer ones.
Yes, I'll make a note of that. So. Any other questions? Again, thank you for the opportunity. And whenever you want to update from transit, we're happy to come. So thank you. Yep.
Okay. Tonight's consent agenda includes payment of bills, approval of minutes from the regular meeting April 7th, ordinance 0526, dissolution of the park board, resolution 1626, authorizing reimbursement agreement with TC Northwest Development, Inc. for city staff time, resolution 1726, authorizing the mayor to sign the security improvement agreement for Ridge at Candy Mountain, resolution 1826, authorizing the mayor to execute the First Amendment to the January 23rd Water Systems Development Fee and Sewer System Development Fee prepayment agreement with Frank Tiggs LLC. Resolution 1626, authorizing the mayor to execute the First Amendment to January 26 Park Impact Fee Mitigation, January 24th, 2024 Park Impact Fee Mitigation Agreement, plat of Watermark. Resolution 2026, authorizing the mayor to execute the Third Amendment to Reimbursement Agreement with Frank Tiggs LLC. Resolution 2126, authorizing the mayor to execute the amendment Park Impact Fee Mitigation Agreement, Resolution 32-20. And motion to approve the final plat of the Ridge at Candy Mountain Phase 2, file number plat 007-2026. Motion to authorize the mayor to execute the consulting agreement with Jennifer Ziegler, Public Affairs and Legislative Advocate. Motion to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Department of Commerce Periodic Update Grant for Comprehensive Planning Effort. Am I overdone? Yay! Is there anyone from the audience who would like to comment on the consent agenda? If so, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. On the consent agenda. Right, that will be next.
Yeah.
2 public comments. Right. Right, and so I asked for I asked for comment on items in the consent agenda. That list I just read, if you wanted to make a comment on that. And then there'll be another public comment in a minute. Okay. All right. And is there anyone online wish to make comment on the consent agenda items? I see a lot of people, but no hands. Please raise your hand. Press *9 to raise your hand via telephone. Stephanie, you see anyone?
I do not see anyone with their hand up, no.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, same sign. We have the consent agenda approved. Now we'll move on to citizens' public comment. We now have the first opportunity for citizen comments for items not on the agenda. If you wish to provide comment, please come to the podium and state your name, city of residence. We'll have 3 minutes to provide your comment. No. Okay. No one in person. Please remember the council cannot respond to questions during the comment period in this time frame, not related. Is there anyone attending virtually who would like to provide a comment? If so, please raise your virtual hand. The city clerk will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes to provide your comment. Please begin with your name and city of residence for the record. Press *9 to raise your hand via telephone. Stephanie?
Not see anyone, no.
All right, moving on to ordinances, resolutions, motions, and public hearings. Public hearing on amendment number 2 to the 6-year transportation improvement plan. Items 8A and 8B are public hearings and a resolution to approve the Second Amendment to the 2026-2031 six-year Transportation Improvement Plan. Public Works Director Roscoe Slade will present the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bloom. Council, the 2026-2031 six-year Transportation Improvement Program was adopted by City Council June 17th of 2025. So it's last year. You adopt it for the next 6 years. That plan was amended in November of last year, where we added a project. And just so council and everybody's aware, you can amend this plan at any time circumstances change. You're just required to have a public hearing before you do so. So what you have tonight is a proposed second amendment to add the Bauman Range Road Pavement Preservation Project to the six-year TIP. This is a project that we have received a state transportation improvement grant of $674,500. And we also received $475,000 in federal Ben Franklin Council of Government STPG UL funds that became available. And so that's a big help on our pavement preservation program. And so to obligate the federal funds, it needs to be in the TIP. And so that's what we're having a public hearing on, to add this project so that we can obligate those funds. This is a project that would be designed this year and constructed next year. It's basically a mill and fill from Keene Road all the way to Blue Heron Boulevard. So big stretch of Bauman Range.
Thank you. I now open the public hearing at 6:31 p.m. We will hear in-person comments and then virtual comments. If you're in the audience and wish to to speak, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to provide comment. Crickets. Okay. Is there anyone attending virtually who would like to provide comment on the proposed amendment to the six-year transportation plan? If so, please raise your virtual hand. The city clerk will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes to provide comment. Please begin with your name and city of residence. You can press *9 to raise your hand via telephone. Still crickets. Stephanie, you don't see anyone?
I do not see anyone with their hand up.
All right. I'll close the public hearing at 6:32. And we'll move on to, I guess I gotta have a motion. Why isn't it here? Okay. Oh, that must be B. Okay. Do I have a motion? I found it.
Yes, I move to pass Resolution 2226, amending the city's 2026 through 2031 six-year transportation improvement program.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Does council have any questions that were not previously addressed in the staff report? Councilmember Moran.
This isn't actually a question. It's just more of a statement. I would like to say that I appreciate that we were able to put this forward, especially the part 2 of the BF COG, because as I'll mention later, there is a certain amount of obligation requirements that we have for the region for BF COG, and there were other municipalities that did not manage to continue their projects, so we had less obligated than we needed. And we have to make sure that we obligate at least as much as we're allowed, if not more, in order to continue getting that same amount for BF COG. And so luckily, Roscoe, Mr. Slade was able to find the project for West Richland that was ready to go so that we could obligate that and make sure that our region can continue to receive the money that we currently. So I appreciate that, Mr. Slade. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. BF COG is Benton Franklin Council of Governments. It's the Transportation Planning Organization, TPO, Metropolitan Transportation Planning Organization. I know these things. It's just the letters. You eventually just say them. It's like out at Hanford. Nobody knows what they mean anymore.
All right. Anyone else? No. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, public hearing on the Lewis and Clark Ranch first reading. Item 8C is a public hearing regarding the Lewis and Clark Sub-Area Plan, Planned Action EIS, Sub-Area Development Regulations, Phase 1 Sub-Area Plan, and amendments to implement the Lewis and Clark Ranch Community Economic Development Director Eric Mendenhall will present the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bloom. You're doing a wonderful job tonight, by the way. I know there's a lot to get through. I've got the same kind of thing I get to go through right now. So thank you for that, and members of the council. Before you tonight is a culmination of years of work, including community engagement, development analysis, and visioning for the future of the Lewis and Clark Ranch Master Planned Community. Frank Teagues LLC applied in December of 2021 to change the land use of the Lewis and Clark Ranch with a vision to develop the company's farmland into a master planned community. This plan includes a sub-area plan, planned action EIS, comprehensive plan amendments, zoning map changes, and zoning code amendments. The Lewis and Clark Ranch was annexed into the city in early 1980s with the intent to develop into additional West Richland neighborhoods. The sub-area plan includes two portions. The larger area, which includes the Frank Teagues LLC land holdings in West Richland, totaling approximately 7,600 acres. The smaller area, or Phase 1 area, is approximately 770 acres. The difference is the build-out timing and planning effort completed. The total area could take 100 to 200 years to completely build out, while Phase 1 is planned for the 20-year horizon. It was necessary to look beyond the 20-year horizon to model the necessary infrastructures that would be required and necessary for the Phase 1 area. No projects outside of the Phase 1 area are part of the plan before you. The Planned Action Environmental Impact Statement and SEPA review dug deeper into the Phase 1 project and what would be needed to mitigate the project's impact to the West Richland and surrounding communities. These are outlined in the Planned Action EIS and Planned Action Ordinance, or PAO. The PAO provides certainty for the property owner and development community as they expand services into this area of the city, or Phase 1. To review, the EIS and Planned Action Ordinance process started the beginning of 2022 with scoping, then public visioning, and charrette. Those informed the necessary reports and analysis which was prepared, cost of the applicant over the rest of 2022. Once the details were provided, the city performed significant work on our water and sewer plans that were necessary to accommodate the proposed growth. This placed a pause on the EIS work and that restarted in early 2025. The city issued the draft EIS in July of 2025. We received 47 public and agency comments. Council then selected a preferred alternative. The final analysis on the preferred alternative was prepared and work done to, the final analysis on the preferred alternative was prepared and work done to prepare the necessary comprehensive plan and code amendments toward the end of last year, which included multiple joint meetings with the Planning Commission and City Council. On April 16th, the city issued the final EIS. As you'll see, this was done with significant public outreach and engagement. This slide shows the different public meetings, engagement, and process that were held that informed the plan and brought us to where we are today. So if you're just joining the conversation, welcome. We invite your feedback. It is possible that your concerns have been voiced by others and are addressed in the final EIS document. Comments and responses received during the comment period of the draft EIS are included in Chapter 4 of the final EIS. 50 people attended the scoping meeting, 30+ people participated in the charrette, nearly 40 people attended the draft EIS public meeting. 47 comment letters were received from public agencies and individuals on the draft EIS. We held over a dozen Planning Commission and City Council meetings. The other engagement not shown on this list, I had a booth down at the annual down at the Wednesdays in West Market So we had a booth down there, talked to the community that was there for that event. And then I've had annual presentations to the West Richland Chamber. I presented to the Home Builders Association last summer to get their feedback, as well as presented to the Tri-City Association of Realtors last fall. We've truly tried to get as much feedback along the way to develop the product that we have today. I want to thank the Planning Commission and City Council for your extensive amount of time and effort you've put into this plan. You had a lot of reading assignments over the past year, so thank you. If the public has submitted comments in writing, we have those and have distributed them to the council. So you need not to verbalize them tonight out of respect of time and the fact that we already have them in the record. So any comments that were received for the Planning Commission meeting, those have been forwarded on to the City Council. We did not receive any additional comments since the Planning Commission meeting for tonight. On April 9th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing of the Lewis and Clark Ranch Subarea Plan Development Regulations and Planned Action Ordinance. 50 individuals attended the meeting in person or virtually, and after public comment was made, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended council to adopt the proposal. Public comments received at the hearing include questions on water and sewer, mule deer, elk, migratory birds and salmon habitat, fire safety, MUI zoning in regards to industrial trends and data centers, transportation and safety. Most of the comments made at the hearing had already been addressed in Chapter 4 of the FEIS document. Data centers is a new comment, while Phase 1 is the primary focus of the Lewis and Clark Ranch plan. The MULI zone does allow for data centers, as does the entire UT zoning, or the big blue area on the map of the zoning map. Many of the concerns shared with the city to date from residents and others are the same concerns that the city has with regards to data centers. To be clear, the city has not received any application for a data center project. There is interest in the Lewis and Clark Ranch, and any project proposed will be required to go through rigorous environmental analysis prior to city approvals to ensure impacts to the city are minimal and mitigated. Again, the proposal before you tonight does not approve a data center project. Of the options considered, as council selected this map as the preferred alternative. Thanks. These land uses provide mixture of options from commercial and multifamily in the MUCC to multifamily in some of the commercial in the MUT, a mix of attached and detached residential in the MXR. Mixed use light industrial is not part of the Phase 1, but does allow for a mix of industrial and commercial uses. The green area shown are areas where city parks will be constructed. What those look like and become are a mix of open space, regional parks, community parks, and neighborhood parks. Parks will be designed and constructed as part of the overall mitigation for Phase 1. This overarching plan complements the existing city development and provides opportunity for growth on the ranch while keeping the charm of the existing downtown and plateau areas. While this map shows the entire 7,600 acres, only Phase 1 has performed the necessary SEPA analysis for development under this application. Any future projects outside of Phase 1 will be required to undergo their own project level review under SEPA. And SEPA is the State Environmental Policy Act. Phase 1 is approximately 770 acres that will provide enough area for 20 years of projected growth. Phase 1 will include a mix of jobs and housing, focusing higher density around commercial core area and up to 1 acre lot sizes in the MXR district. This area has been analyzed for growth and development under this application. The larger area received land use designations to help inform roadway widths and other infrastructure needs for Phase 1. Again, the plan was prepared in concert with public feedback, but just as importantly, with the property owner at the table. This plan fulfills the vision of what they want, as it allows for flexibility in lot size and uses to address market demands and adjustments. There's a lot of public concern, as they stated, about data centers. While we share similar concerns, data centers are not included in the Phase 1 area and not part of the project application for Lewis and Clark Ranch. Additionally, the city has not received an application for data center project. If one of the is submitted, again, it'll require to perform a high level of environmental analysis, study, and scrutiny. Now I'll turn the presentation over to Casey with Burke Consulting to review the sub-area plan, sub-area code, amendments to the comprehensive plan and code, and the planned action ordinance. Casey?
Thank you, Eric. As Eric said, I am a city consultant with Burke, and we've been working with the city to develop these documents. So I'm going to just provide a high-level overview of the 4 items that the Planning Commission recommended City Council approve. And I know this is material that City Council has seen before. I'm going to keep it high level just so everyone has an overview of what's recommended for approval. The first item is the sub-area plan for the Lewis and Clark Ranch, and that's intended to provide policy level planning guidance for this area. Next slide. The contents of the sub-area plan include an introduction that describes the planning process and existing conditions in the ranch. It includes a vision and guiding principles for future growth. That's that policy level guidance I was mentioning. It describes the plan concepts, which is what Eric just showed you, the preferred alternative vision for future growth, and it describes how that would be implemented. Next slide. The second item is a sub-area code. This would be a new section of the city's municipal code that was developed specifically for the sub-area, and it would implement that policy guidance that's in the sub-area plan. It was designed to be easy to implement, easy to navigate with user-friendly illustrations. This is a list of the sections of the sub-area code. The first part talks about how the city would administer the code. The second part says what zones are allowed in the sub-area and also what types of buildings are allowed. And then we have sections of the code that set forth development standards for each zone, for each type of building, for each of the street frontage types. There's also a section on street connectivity and block standards. So that deals with what the street looks like. There's different street types allowed in the sub-area, and where the sidewalks would go and where the landscaping would go. There's also standards that describe how long blocks can be before there needs to be an intersection. And then the last 2 sections in the code deal with open space standards and other neighborhood standards such as landscaping and gateway features. The third item is a memo describing recommended amendments to the comprehensive plan and the city's municipal code. So that includes the 2 things that I just talked about. The sub-area plan is proposed to be adopted as an element or a chapter of the comprehensive plan. And then the sub-area code would be a new section of the city's municipal code. In addition to those 2 big changes, there's some other work that needs to be done to ensure consistency within the comprehensive plan and the code itself with what's proposed for the sub-area. For instance, the land use map in the comprehensive plan needs to be updated to reflect the new land use designations, assuming they're approved. And there's definitions and tables with permitted land uses in different zones and parking standards for different zones and land use types that need to be updated for consistency as well. And the memo is just broken out into amendments needed to the comprehensive plan and the code. The last item that is recommended for approval is the planned action ordinance. This is the tool Eric mentioned that allows for streamlined permitting in that phase 1 area. So these are the sections of the planned action ordinance. The first 2 describe why the city is adopting it. The third section is an important section. It says these are the criteria that a development project needs to meet in order to get that streamlined permitting advantage and where exactly those developments can happen. So again, that's that phase 1 area that's about 770 acres. Section 3 also says how much growth can be permitted under this planned action ordinance before additional environmental analysis would be needed. And it includes some capacity checkpoints so that over time, as development is occurring, the city can check how is traffic, how is water service, sewer service, how is school service, and make sure that those services are being provided as growth occurs as anticipated and course correct if needed. And then the remaining sections of the ordinance talk about how it will be implemented. There are also a number of exhibits for the planned action ordinance. The first one is a map of that phase 1 area that you saw earlier. Exhibit B is an important piece. It lists all of the mitigation measures that were identified in the final EIS that are needed to offset the impacts of growth. And this is in addition to existing local, state, and federal regulations. There's a supplemental checklist, which is basically a tool for city staff to be able to ensure that those mitigation measures are being completed. Exhibit D is a detailed list of all the transportation projects needed to mitigate for the new traffic associated with anticipated growth. And then the last items are legal description maps of specific parts of the planned action area that different mitigation measures apply to. And with that, I will turn it back over to Eric.
Thank you, Casey, for your assistance on explaining all the items included in the project before the council tonight for the public hearing. After the hearing tonight, council will take the proposal in consideration for action on the May 5th council meeting. And thank you.
I now open the public hearing at 6:51 p.m. We will hear in-person comments and then virtual attendee comments. If you are in the audience and wish to speak, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to provide your comment.
Good evening. Andrew Marianas, 5219 Monica Street here in West Richland. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. I'd like to share this statement with you guys tonight. My name's Andrew, as I've stated, and I serve as the CEO of the Tri-City Association of Realtors and representing 1,100 members. In addition, I also represent other realtor associations across Eastern Washington, and that'll be a factor here in a second. In this role, our advocacy work encompasses roughly 30 jurisdictions, cities, counties, and ports on issues related to housing, land use, and economic development. And I'll be honest, we're usually known more to be a friend with the elected officials than to city staff, because we tend to show up when it's time to push back on policies or regulations that negatively impact housing. And that lens is kind of what brings me here tonight. And from the perspective, I can say clearly that I have not seen many opportunities like this than what's in front of West Richland right now. The scale and timing and the level of foresight reflected in the Lewis and Clark Ranch Plan, particularly from your community developer, Eric Mendenhall, is something most cities never get the chance to do. The real question isn't whether growth is coming, it's whether it's going to be planned or you're just going to let it happen to you. So I'd rather speak a little bit broadly to kind of highlight a few things that this plan does right. It's long-term coordinated growth. It's not the short-term, what are we going to do now? It's got a 100-year framework to it. This allows housing, infrastructure, schools, amenities to be planned together instead of pieced together over time. Meaningful housing supply. This plan has the ability to deliver real housing scaled over time. It's not just one subdivision and then thousands of units across different product types. It matters really seriously when it comes to affordability that this plan is thought out so far ahead. Flexibility in lot sizes, housing types allows the market to respond over time. That reduces the need for constant rezoning and reworking your plans in the future where we see this in other cities. The plan action framework, it allows certainty. That's something we talk about constantly when we're talking about government affairs. Housing doesn't just need approval, it needs a system that allows it to be delivered. Economic growth and community development, the housing is going to drive everything, jobs, retail, services, and tax base. Without housing, you don't get those things, but with a plan like this, you will get those things because it's thinking so far ahead.
10 seconds.
And let's see, I understand there are a lot of concerns, and there always will be for this project this size, but you're doing it now instead of figuring it out later.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, council members. I am April Connors. My address is 1914 South Arthur in Kennewick, Washington, and I don't live in your community, but I have been a real estate agent in the Tri-Cities for 25 years. So I've seen all of the growth, as Andrew mentioned earlier, in the Tri-Cities. I've also served, as you probably know, as your state representative for your district or part of your district. But I am speaking on behalf of my real estate capacity at the current moment, which is prices in the Tri-Cities are skyrocketing out of the roof. I mean, we are 40% more in housing costs than we were in 2020. A lot of young families can't afford to have homes anymore, and how we fix that is with supply. And luckily, City of West Richland is in a spot where they have land within the urban growth boundaries that you guys are going to be able to annex in and to build housing, which will help with our affordability crisis here. Putting on my state hat a little bit, West Richland is kind of under the threshold right now for the middle housing rules. But there are a lot of new regulations that are coming to cities that are going to hit that 25,000 person threshold. And the one thing that I can say is that Eric and Roscoe have been really good about following all of the laws that are coming down from the state level, which would be on parking requirements, on zoning requirements, on ADU requirements. And I don't know what the count is from the last 2 years about the amount of laws that have changed in the housing space, but it's substantial to keep up with. So the one thing that I appreciate about Lewis and Clark Ranch is what you guys have done to look at what types of housing are going in. It's not just single family housing, it's housing that can correspond with the requirements that are coming down at a state level. And so very appreciative. I want you to know that there's a lot of other communities in Washington state that wish they had left ground in the urban growth boundaries. For people in your audience who may not know, it's really hard to build outside of those growth boundaries. And if you don't have land available, you can't. If you even look at the city of Kennewick, they've pushed up on their growth boundaries, and pretty soon they're going to be out of land to build on. And I know change is hard. Change is hard for everybody as you start to grow as a city, but it is needed in our community to keep it affordable. And I just wanted to commend West Richland and commend Eric on his work and Roscoe and their work that they've been doing to make this a very thoughtful plan, and the community engagement you guys have done, because if communities aren't engaged, it makes these processes a lot harder. So just wanted to say, as a Windermere agent and someone who's been here for a long time, very supportive of what you guys are doing in our community to make it a better place and provide affordable housing and jobs.
Thank you. With 5 seconds to spare. You could raise that 25,000 limit.
Hi, good evening. I'm Ken Poletsky at 73556 North Pedersen Road here in West Richland. I just was sitting in the audience tonight, and I read the vision and the mission statements behind you. And I think what we're doing here tonight is a testament to that, because it's really about the planning, making sure you're building a community that's where people are attracted to and want to live. And as a 30-year veteran in real estate, that's what I do. I move people into homes, right? And give them that joy of ownership. And this plan that you see before you that's been put together over the last several years, I was at the original meetings, is something that cities don't get to do. I've driven by that property for years and years and have known that's been in the city limits, and have been waiting for the time when that opportunity would arise and we'd be able to attract more people and provide the benefit of home ownership to them. So working with staff has just been a blessing over the years of Eric and Roscoe. I've approached them on many projects because I represent land developers who are going to be interested in buying this ground, developing some of that into the housing, whether it's single family housing or multifamily housing. And these are all needs. I checked before I got here, there's 1,090 homes listed in the Tri-City Association Realtors MLS that are for Pasco, Kennewick, Richland, and West Richland. There's only 93 available homes in West Richland. That's for manufactured homes in parks to the multi-million-dollar properties out on the river. That's not very many for the 17,000 people we have in our city limits. So this plan is a plan that I can really get behind just from the simple fact that I provide a dream of homeownership for property buyers or home buyers that want to have that. Whether they're young people that are just getting into their first home or they're moving on into their second home and they love this community of West Richland. I moved here in 2007 and I haven't wanted to move out of the city limits yet. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing. I really support this plan. And I think that I hope that you've heard that the housing needs is one that's going to be a driver to this. These are needs that we're seeing across all the cities in the Tri-Cities area. And it's nothing that's taken lightly. This is something that you guys are blessed with, that you have the opportunity to create and actually follow your vision and follow your missions and things that you've put together as a council and are implementing it on a day-to-day. And I thank staff for bringing that forward and working with the developer to make sure this project is out there for the foreseeable future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Michael Aldrich, 5708 Mulberry Drive, West Richland. My comment and concern is not with the actual plan of the area, but in the availability of water. I've read, in fact, this morning, I read an article in the paper where both Lake Powell and Lake Mead on the Colorado, they're very much concerned with the levels being able to generate electricity and what's going to happen. And that's my concern here, in the fact that so many people back around the Colorado thought that everything was great and nothing was going to ever lessen the amount of water. I don't want that to happen here. And that's really what I'm speaking of. And I know that there's been action plans. I've talked to Roscoe and he has indicated that there's a lot of things that have been done and agreements that have been made. But one of the things too that I know that we get about 40% of our water from Richland, who gets it out of the Columbia, and we are somewhat behind having to deal with Canada, because there is a treaty between the United States and Canada with regard to the Columbia. And the relationship of the United States and Canada nowadays is not the greatest. So maybe we have to think about some of this now. Thank you very much. And that's my thoughts.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Madden Markell. I live at 20505 West OIE Highway in Benton City. So I do not live in West Richland, but I do work here a lot. I'm a realtor, so I'm also here on behalf of the Tri-City Association of Realtors, and I'm here to share my support for the Lewis and Clark Ranch project. Right now, the Tri-Cities and Washington State as a whole has a housing shortage. A development like this helps add the inventory we need and makes homeownership more attainable for more people, which is something we should all be working toward. This project also brings real economic value. It's going to bring in new businesses, create jobs, and generate revenue for the city, which benefits everybody who lives here. West Richland is a really great place to live. I hear it from people all the time. People who live here never want to leave. The people who move in always say how much that they love it. The people here really are amazing, and there's such a strong sense of community. I see this project as something that adds to that, not takes away from it. I've had the chance to work with the City of West Richland's planning and building departments on multiple occasions and can say they've always done a great job. A lot of the credit goes to the leadership in these departments for how this proposal has come together. There's been a lot of thought and effort put into this, and it really shows. It's clear the goal is to create something that's not just good for today, but something that I think everyone will be proud of in 50 or even 100 years from now. So overall, I just fully support this project and the positive impact it'll have on West Richland and everyone in surrounding areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
How y'all doing tonight? My name is Harry Mays. I live at 8413 Ballard Loop and been coming to these meetings for a little bit. It's my first time really speaking because I have something just kind of passionate right now. I apologize for my phone, but I was looking up some information really fast. In regards to this, to what's going on with the Lewis and Clark, I understand about growth. I really do. I come from a big city that had a lot of growth, right? But my problem with that is that with growth usually comes more crime. Now, I'm in West Richland. I only been in West Richland 5 years. And one of the reasons I moved to West Richland was because of the low crime rate. And I like the idea that my home values were high, right? And I understand we have a housing shortage and things like that. But just looking up some quick numbers right here. In 20 years, we would only have, it's 190, that averages 190 houses a year. I don't really see how that'll really help a lot of people, even though it's 3 people a year, average living in a house, which is what, 570 people. So I understand we need businesses because we trying to grow the tax base and all that. But I think that what we should really worry about with West Richland is keep it as much as we can, a small, nice town that is good for families and things like that. Because it seems like that we're growing, and I do know some growth is inevitable, but we should try to keep ourselves as a nice community that is a suburb of the bigger Tri-Cities. Instead of us just trying to attract so much, but we forget the hometown feel. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come forward.
Good evening. My name is Jordan Tiggs. I'm here to represent the Tiggs family and the applicant. Just really quick, again, want to thank the city staff, Eric and Roscoe especially, the Planning Commission, the city council members, and Burke helping us get through this process. Throughout the whole thing, the city has provided full transparency to us, and we've had a lot of ability to comment and provide our desires for this plan. The plan represents a culmination of a dream of our father and our family for the future of our land out in West Richland. It also does a lot of things. It represents a lot of solutions to mitigate and participate in large infrastructure projects. And we understand our financial obligations to that. Ultimately, the plan results in significant benefits to the city and to us, the landowner, as we move towards the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone attending virtually? Oh, anyone else want to come forward? Anyone attending virtually who would like to provide a comment? If so, please raise your virtual hand. The city clerk will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes to provide your comment. Please begin with your name and city of residence for the record. Press *9 to raise your hand via telephone. I don't see any hands. Stephanie?
Not see any hands, no.
Okay. I will close the public hearing at 7:09 p.m. Does the council have any additional comments at this time?
Yes.
Councilmember Smart.
Yeah, I'd like to thank our community members for attending and appreciate all the positive comments. I know there are probably some, because of some of the letters we've received, there have also been some negative comments about the growth associated with this plan. I don't think we can mitigate the growth much better than what this plan indicates. You know, the growth is inevitable. It's not going to happen overnight. This first phase is probably going to take at least 20 years, according to our estimates, for it to build out. That's 20 years. That's the first roughly 700 acres of roughly 7,000 acres of developed area that may happen over the course of, who knows, 100, 200 years. So I understand that perspective, and I would encourage those who have written with the negative comments to understand that perspective as well. Now, I have some concerns about the concept of densification, just like some of the comments here have indicated. I also have long-standing comments on potential crime areas in high-density developments where we have acres upon acres upon acres of apartment buildings, because I've been to many parts of the country where it's been built out like that. And it's not always true, but it does seem to be a pattern that when you densify people in that kind of a environment, that crime issue tends to happen. I just don't think we can deny that. It's an obvious observation. But that said, this plan, and it's taken me a while to get convinced to not vehemently oppose this whole thing, as Eric knows. I have noted that most of these requirements for the zoning have minimum square footages cited, and that especially in the residential areas, those are minimums. So that means you can densify, but you don't have to. So there can be larger lots. I personally would like to see more land designated for single-family detached homes. But as we've discussed, this is a plan that's 20 years out. And maybe some of the initial builds may be just like what we're seeing in our community today, a lot of apartments or townhomes, because that's what the current market demands. We'll see what the market demands 10 years from now. You know, I tend to be somewhat optimistic that our local community here will embrace manufacturing. We'll maybe get into small modular reactors or find some other niche that we're good at. We have a lot of technically oriented people here, a lot of agriculturally oriented people. And I think there's a lot of potential for food processing and technical developments that will employ folks and provide good wages, and wages that will be able to afford whatever the current price happens to be for a single family detached home. That's my hope. I think that this plan allows that to happen, but it also allows for the potentiality that we spend the next 20 years with kids who can't afford to buy anything more than a one-room apartment. And what are you going to do with those kids? We're not going to stop having kids. Population continues, and we need a place for them to reside. Maybe it's their first home or their first apartment. And then with economic prosperity, I think that the developers with this plan have the option to build what the demand requires, which might be, and my hope is, more single-family detached homes. I would say that as far as the commercial development goes, there are a lot of building standards cited in this plan, and I think they're not my favorite because they require buildings to be placed right up against the street. I will ask, and I don't expect an answer tonight, but one of my concerns is what happens when IKEA wants to build out here. None of the examples in this plan show the IKEA building that I visited down near Portland, wherever that is. Huge parking lot, beautiful building. You know, what they show here is parcels, commercial parcels that are maybe, 200 feet deep or maybe a little deeper, and the building right up against the street and parking in the back. I presume, and I've talked to Eric about this and Roscoe and others in the city and fellow council members, and the idea is that if IKEA comes and says, hey, they want to build an IKEA building, we'll have a council meeting and make a variance for that building and let them put that up. We're not gonna, I won't speak for us, gotten in trouble for that. But I will say for myself, I'm not gonna try to deny a Home Depot or a Walmart, which is about 1,000 feet by 1,000 foot parcel, which by the way is not indicated in any of these plans. Right now, they'd have to, it would be a variance. If you look at the scale on this commercial alley that we've got in this plan, it's only about, I don't know, it's like 500 feet deep or something like that. So those type of developments, if they come in, which would look something similar to what most of us are used to, I think that can happen. So speaking on the business and the commercial side, I don't think this necessarily restricts that from happening. I think you can still have a Walmart where you can buy your groceries at less than full retail price, perhaps, that you might see in smaller grocery stores or something that this map is indicating. But those are my concerns about the densification indicated by this general layout. But again, if you understand how the council works, we have the ability to make exceptions in the future for things like that. And if somebody comes in and wants to develop something that has larger parcel sizes, that's also something that we can accommodate with this plan. And then the other thing I will communicate, which I haven't heard from staff, but they've told me about this, is that it's always easier to go from high density zoning to low density than to go the other way around. So if we had the whole place zoned for quarter acre single family residences, and then somebody wanted to come in and build apartments, which the market may demand, it might be very hard to get that zoning placed into a more dense designation versus going the other way. So I take that into account with this plan as well. So I guess I'm trying to express that, maybe not with the folks that spoke here tonight, but I'm sort of addressing some of we had like I got personal emails from 5 different residents concerning, the potential for densification in a data center. And I wanted to make these comments public so that everybody can understand that I think we have I think that the plan that we have here accommodates our wishes to keep a small town rural environment as long as we can, and as long as the market allows it to happen. So I'm a free economics guy. If the economy demands one type of home or another, that's America. We get to our developers, our landowners get to choose how they develop their land, and this is how the Teagues have asked us to lay the plan out, and or at least they've agreed with this concept, and I think it's flexible enough that we'll be good in the future. So I've gone long, but I appreciate your ear, and thanks for the time.
Thank you, Councilmember Smart. I'll just make my comment that I'm very familiar with plan unit developments, and I actually owned a townhouse in one at a place far south of here. And density-wise, if it's well planned, it works. And as such, but I agree, this is a plan. This is a process, and all things are subject to change as market demands. All right, well, since tonight's hearing is a first reading, there is no action. Oh, does anyone else have a comment? No. There is no action tonight. This will be on the agenda for the May 5th City Council meeting for final action. With that, we'll move on to Ordinance 526, amending the 2025 biennium budget. Item 4A is an ordinance amending the 2026 biennium budget. Aaron, will you present the staff report?
All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bloom. Good evening, council and citizens. This evening, I'm presenting the 7th budget amendment for the 25-26 biennial budget. This budget amendment affects 5 funds. In the 001 General Fund, this amendment addresses 2 items. The first is in regards to an agreement with TC Northwest Development. We're recognizing revenue from the company in the amount of up to $150,000 and increasing appropriations for the same amount for staff time spent on planning efforts. The second item is in regards to a grant with the police department received to purchase a LiDAR unit. The amendment recognizes grant revenue in the amount of $3,000 and appropriates the same amount for the cost of purchasing the unit. In the 104 Park Impact Fund, this amendment is appropriating $338,776.14 from fund balance to pay Aho Construction for the 106 units, part of the mitigation credits not used. This corresponds with the amendment to the existing park mitigation agreement on this evening's agenda earlier. In Fund 302, the Bombing Range Road Preservation Project has been awarded the federal grant that Roscoe talked about. This amendment is recognizing the additional grant revenue in the amount of $475,000 and increases appropriations for the same amount for that project. Also in Fund 302, this amendment is correcting project costs for Keene Road overlay. Both revenue and appropriations are being decreased by $113,155. In Fund 441, the Water System Development Fund, this amendment appropriates $101,185 from the ending fund balance for costs associated with Amendment 3 of the engineering services contract with JUB Engineers for the water system plan update that was approved by council on February 17th. Also on February 17th, council authorized the mayor to execute the second amendment to the interlocal agreement with Richland School District and 7HA Family for the sewer extension project. This amendment recognizes additional revenue from Richland School District in the amount of $139,156 and a decrease in revenue from 7HA in the amount of $12,610. And then we are increasing appropriations for this project, an additional $224,233. Staff recommends passing the attached ordinance for the budget amendment. This amendment authorizes an increase in the 25-26 appropriations in the amount of $1,179,039 and recognizes an increase in resources in the amount of $641,391, bringing the total revised budget to $168,031,095.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this item? Please come to the designated place to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to provide your comments. I see no one. Is there anyone virtually? We don't have it. Is there anyone virtually who wish to provide comment? If so, raise your virtual hand or *9 to raise your hand on telephone. Nope, I see no one. Does council have any questions that are not previously addressed in the staff report? What? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, council, can I have a motion?
I move to pass ordinance 05-26, amending the City of West Richland 2025-2026 biennial budget.
Second.
I have a motion. Does council have any questions that were not previously addressed in the staff report? No? Then all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? We have an ordinance. Unfinished business. We do not have any new business tonight or unfinished business. Next up, we'll have a second opportunity for public comment. If you wish to speak, please come to the podium and state your name and city of residence. We will have 3 minutes to provide comment. This is open for anything not previously on the agenda. Is there anyone attending virtually who would like to provide comment? If so, please raise your virtual hand. The clerk will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes to provide your comment. Please begin with your name, city of residence for the record. Press *9 if you're to raise your hand if you are attending via telephone. Stephanie, I see no one.
I do not see anyone either.
With that, we'll move on to staff and council reports. Staff? Ms. Gwynn.
I do want to say we do have a council workshop planned for next Monday. I think it starts at 9. So it's for a budget council retreat. So it will be most of the day.
All right, thank you.
Oh, and I should tell you, we are also having pictures that day. So please show up ready for your portrait.
I have a coat and tie all day.
Bring a t-shirt.
Stephanie, I can't see your sign when you're. All right. Council members, any comments? We'll start with Councilmember Ritchie.
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Not about 2 weeks ago, my daughter came over, brought my 1.5-year-old grandson and parked in the driveway, locked the keys in the car, and promptly proceeded to melt down. My wife and she both had major problems. But they tried to get hold of AAA. They tried to get hold of a local locksmith. Everything was going to be an hour or 2 out. It wasn't hot. The child wasn't in that kind of danger, but he's screaming, mama's screaming, everybody's screaming. Okay. And so what did we do? Well, we called the West Richland Police Department. And with that, they were kind enough to send 2 sympathetic officers out there that were able to handle my wife, my daughter, and a screaming 1.5-year-old grandson. Okay. So I want to praise Officer Harrison Gerard and Cassandra Martinez. 2 officers did a bang up job that calmed everything down, brought it right back down to level, got the car open, and everybody went home safe. So Chief, thank you very much for the officers that you bring to us.
Thank you. Councilmember Stoker.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bloom. So first off, I just want to say I think this past weekend was a great success with the cleanup day. Try to take advantage of that every time. I ended up taking 3 trips with my truck and trailer. Only one of them was for my own personal use, but you know, I was able to get rid of a bunch of tree limb clippings for somebody else, as well as some of the garbage around my place. Also, I just want to make everybody aware that I will not be able to attend the retreat this next week. Just happens that probably the one trip for work that I'll take this year is at the same time, so I will be absent.
Councilmember Moran.
Thank you. Well, first, I, just like Councilmember Stoker, will not be able to make it on Monday, but that's because I have a very seldomly provided course at Hammer that I have to take for work. So I will not be able to attend, unfortunately. I want to. Next, I will say that I did go to the the Ben Franklin Transit meeting on the 9th. You may or may not have read about it in the newspaper. That was the meeting where the executive director Drost was, his contract was ended, and we have Brian Lewansky as the interim CEO currently. So I will say again that the BFT meetings I really enjoy going to them. So thank you all for the ability to attend, and really like the charcuterie boards that we get. Can't say that enough. And then after that, I attended the Ben Franklin Council of Governments meeting on the 17th. And like I spoke about before, there was concerns related to the, related to the what is it called, Roscoe? I'm awful with the names. The money, the obligation. There we go. The obligation, federal obligation that we have, where there were 2 municipalities that were unable to obligate their projects on time. So the money had to go back into the kitty, so to speak. And we had to find some other projects that could use that money so we wouldn't lose that money the next time around. And luckily, Mr. Slade was able to find a project for West Richland that we were able to get with the bombing range overlay. And also excitingly, the BFCOG was able to present a project that they had just waiting for a rainy day, where it is called the Tri-Cities Metro Loop Transportation Study, and that's going to be looking at transportation all across the metropolitan area of the Tri-Cities, multimodal transportation. So also working with Ben Franklin Transit, working with the municipalities, the cities and the counties related to vehicle transportation as well as pedestrian transportation, and trying to figure out what are the best ways moving forward into the future we can plan for our different modes of transportation in the area. So I'm really looking forward to that project happening, and I'm really looking forward to us getting work done on the bombing range overlay. So that was an exciting thing to hear about. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Councilmember Smart.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to mention, after having been attending the good roads of Benton, Franklin, and Walla Walla counties for the last several years, and now am the voting member. Thank you, Roscoe. Appreciate that nomination. Roscoe has always led that way. I still will heavily rely on his leadership there, and just wanted to mention that, you know, as somebody who's attended all of these meetings, it's apparent to me that our small town of whatever we are, 18,000 people, has a public works director who, by and large, I believe technically is extremely astute and kind of leads that organization in many ways. I know he wouldn't admit to that, but he has some of the best ideas and seems to know, you know, more of what's going on than any of our sister cities or other cities and other counties around us. So I just wanted to give you that praise, Roscoe. Thank you very much for that leadership. I mean, it's quite remarkable. It's kind of an organization that operates in the background. Its purpose is to query all of the local municipalities, towns, and so forth. And people have found over the course of the years, decades probably by now, that if we represent ourselves as a conglomeration of cities here on the sparsely populated east side of the state, that we have a better chance of getting some of those tax dollars back for road projects and things of that nature, especially if we all locally agree to a priority list, which is kind of what happens at those meetings. Projects are brought up, discussed, and ultimately compared and contrasted and voted on, and a final list gets produced, and then it gets represented up at our legislature, and it's been fairly successful. We don't always win in West Richland, but we win more often, I would say, than I would have expected without Roscoe's leadership. So I wanted to thank him for that. And I just look forward to continuing to serve on that board. And I also very much look forward to Roscoe's continued leadership, especially keeping up with all of the projects and so forth, which, not being a civil engineer, I'm not quite as astute as he is on that. I also just wanted to mention, as far as growth goes and the concerns for water, that those, as each project comes on down the pike, that will be assessed project by project. But I will say that we currently have an intertie with Richland, and we do utilize water from the Columbia River. The Columbia River today is flowing at 264,000 cubic feet per second. If you do the math on that, that would give everybody in the United States of America, man, woman, and child, a fresh gallon of water. And by the way, it's good quality water in about 3 minutes. So I wouldn't want to suggest that we dam up the Columbia and distribute it across the country, but it's a lot of water. And I always keep that in mind. The water level varies from somewhere around 100,000 cubic feet per second. And at higher flow rates, it can get up to 400, even 600. 600, it's flood stage. But that does happen. So throughout the course of the year, though, it almost never drops below 100,000 cubic feet per second. There's like 7.5 gallons or something like that in a cubic foot. So it's a lot of water. We are truly blessed in this arid climate to have that river flowing right next door. And I don't want to drain it dry. I don't think we have to have a prayer of doing that, but it is definitely a consideration. And really the consideration is, how do you get the water out of it and to your homes? If you're going to have another 4,500 homes built out here in the near future, you got to get it there. And that's something that we have those same concerns as your council members and your public utility director as all the residents do. So I hope that what we do continues to make sense and that we don't, overstep our resources. And I'm pretty confident that's never going to happen. Not because we've got one of the largest rivers in the world right next door, but because we're doing the analysis on the ways to provide that water and the distribution and the maintenance of those networks. So it's a complicated process, but I just want to say again, I think we've got it pretty well handled. I'm a hawk on this. Roscoe will tell you, because I have the same feelings as a lot of you. I moved here when there were about 6,000 people in town, and I certainly appreciate this environment that we have here. And as best as we can, I'm hoping to preserve that atmosphere and that quality of life. So those are my comments for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I move on to Mayor Brink, I reach out to Councilmember Fetto, make sure he didn't forget to raise his hand, but no, he's good. Okay. All right. Mayor Brink.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bloom. I just wanted to thank the 20 or so community members that stopped by Indulgences on Saturday, April 18th, to have some informal conversations with myself and Police Chief Fry. It provided a great opportunity to discuss topics that are important, to our citizens. And I found it extremely beneficial to get some insight where we could have a true dialogue with our citizens. I will be doing another event, most likely in June, similarly, so I will put out information on that as well. And I will share with council some of the insights that I received during our retreat and in subsequent meetings. So just wanted to pass that on. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bloom.
Well, thank you. And I just wanted, since Ben Franklin Transit is still here, I want to share my appreciation of the using the facilities with Yakima Basin Fish Wildlife Recovery Board. We met there earlier this month, and still get the board chambers there are the best meeting area anywhere. They are the best, and the acoustics are incredible. The new, I tell you, the new visual didn't quite work well for us, but that's okay. Anyway, with that, I will, those that missed it, besides the spring cleanup, the mosquito control took their annual tire drive and they collected a ton of tires, and I'll find out how many next Monday when we meet. 5 of those tires came from me. So, anyway, with that, there's no executive session. I want to just note that Mr. Rio is down there. And I'll conclude the meeting at 7:39.